So hello, welcome back to Go Again Gaming. My name is Az, and today we're going to be doing another top 4 video for the League That Means Absolutely Nothing Season 2 here on the channel. Just want to say thanks to Ian Holland from the Irish lot, who has done a fantastic job commentating up until this point. And I just thought I would wrap this all up myself towards the end here, just to get everything ready before I go to Japan, which is going to be tomorrow night. I'm going over to London Gatwick to fly over to arrive in Japan on Tuesday, so that should be good fun. But let's get this started. We've got the top 8 here, the top 4 I should say. Chris Chalk against Hank Sherlock. Chris on his favoured Enigma. Well, he was always been a Dromai player, so an illusionist player through and through, against Hank, who has always been pretty much a Viserai player and has played in the League That Means Nothing Season 1 and 2, playing his favourite hero, Viserai. But in these top 4 games, and everything going forward from this moment in time, we now have access to the Rosetta cards as well. And I did allow the players to change all of their deck lists for the top 4 to incorporate the Rosetta cards, which you should see in this game, because Hank, before Rosetta was released in the top in the beginning Swiss rounds that we played, was running more of a turtle burst version of Viserai, which obviously had no Rosetta cards, and he got into the top 8 using that version of the deck. Going to be interesting to see how Hank plays on this one, albeit we have seen a little bit of that already in the top 8 when he played against the Net, who was on Sanskar Azalea. But yeah, Viserai being a really, really cool pick for Worlds as well, I think, going forward into the Worlds weekend, which is actually going to be next weekend. But yeah, Chris now sporting his ProQuest mat there as well, the Blanche mat, which is pretty cool. And Chris has always been a great player. And shout out to Chris as well. He was the one who judged the PQ that I streamed over at Void Games last weekend. He was judging the whole thing and did a fantastic job there as well. So it's good to see him playing here and getting so far in the league that means absolutely nothing. But yeah, it should be an interesting one. These two heroes going against each other. You would think that Viserai does have the edge because of obviously all of the split damage that can chew through all of the ward, as well as the fact that Viserai can be fairly aggressive style deck, which Enigma does really check their opponents as to, can you deal enough damage to me that I can't keep anything around. But starting off with Hank's turn here, we are going to start with a Mordred Tide on turn 1. So whenever a rune chant is created, you get an additional one. It's just going to pitch to the Grasp, which is going to create him 2 rune chants, I believe, to start this off. Which is, making a couple of rune chants, passing the turn. It's not a bad place to start with a Viserai deck, and especially when you're going to be facing down a lot of ward and a lot of illusions on the field. Having these little ping damages coming through in the case of every single separate rune chant is a good thing to establish early on. So, but yeah, Mordred Tide being used in turn 1 is probably not going to see all of the value that you can potentially get out of that card, but just looking like that's pretty much all Hank can do here. Is just switching around to pitch there, pitching the Become rather than whatever was pitched before. This is the League That Means Nothing after all. It doesn't really matter. But coming in with a Rune Rager Swarm, this is a new card from the Rosetta. Coming in for 0, obviously it's going to have Go Again because he created an aura this turn in the form of the Rune Chants. And it's going to create another 2 Rune Chants off of the back end of Viserai trigger coupled with the Mordred Tide. So 2 Rune Chants coming in first at Chris's face. Obviously this is 2 separate cases of 1 arcane damage, which is why Viserai does have a lot of game into Enigma, because obviously every piece of damage that is coming through has to be warded if the ward is there available to be used on board. So separate all of these sort of separate ping damages and arcane damages and stuff, just a bit of a pain in the ass for Enigma to have to deal with. But it looks like a blue is being pitched to get rid of the arcane barrier, and the 1 from the Rune Rager Swarm is still coming in, and Chris using the Phantasmal Footsteps here with a perfect block from the 2 arcane barrier, 1 floating, to then give the Phantasmal Footsteps that +1 defense by paying the 1, just covering this up really cleanly. So that's pretty good. Nice little bit of tech there on these on this first turn as well, especially with all these little split damages coming in. But that probably looks like it's going to be around about it. for this. Well, this does have go again, so Hank could potentially swing the sword and then 2 other rune chants, but behind that as well, perhaps. Still has the 1 floating, so it's just the question is, do I want to use that 1 floating, or is it just wasted pitch? But we will see what happens here. It's nice to see Viserai come back after such a long break away from the game in general, right? Well, Rune Blades in general as well were just absent for a long, long time, and it's nice to see them come back in full force, that being Aurora and Viserai as well, with Viserai being a strong sort of predicted pick by the devs to be a contender for Worlds. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out this time next week. We'll probably know what the deal is with the metagame going into Worlds. But yeah, Hank's just going to draw up and pass. So it's over to Chris now to carry on the game. Interesting to see how this is going to start off for Chris. And he's going to be playing a Rage Spectre. So obviously when you control, if you control no other auras, when this enters, you get an action point. So he's going to get the action point back and come in with a Miraging Metamorph. That's a pretty strong play there, coming in for 7. And of course, this does have Phantasm, so Viserai is not short of 6 power attacks. He can access a lot of generics, of course, but also there's a lot of cards in Viserai's deck list and pool at large that will have 6 power and above. Things like Ninth Blade of the Blood Oath, not become the Arc Knight, Amplify the Arc Knight is a good one that has 6 power that can come in for free if you've got loads of rune chants in play. There's quite a lot of different 6 power attacks. You've got the Runic Reclamation, which is the one that destroys auras if it hits. I think that's what that one is called anyway. But yeah, Runeblade has a swath of 6 power and above attacks. But Hank just choosing to take the damage and pass the turn here. So not having any poppers or not choosing to pop. Just taking the damage to the face and starting off with a Malefic Incantation. This is one of the new ones from Rosetta, which is pretty good. Whenever you play an attack, you remove a verse count to create a rune chant. So we're going to get a rune chant off of Viserai here from the play of Become the Arc Knight. And he's getting rid of an attack action. A non-attack action. So he's going to be able to go get an attack with that Rattlebones being pitched there to the graveyard. So going to get an attack of some sort, which is going to be the Swarming Gloomveil. Classic card from, when was that? Where was that? What set was that from? I can't remember off the top of my head without the card being flashed up in front of me. But yeah, that's obviously going to create a rune chant from the resolution of Viserai's ability after playing the Become the Arc Knight. And obviously Hank has gone and got Swarming Gloomveil. And it looks like an attack's probably going to be coming in next. With that Swarm, which is going to cost nothing, and all modes will probably be available here. Because he's got more than 3 auras out. I think that's how it works. But he's going to play he's going to pitch a Succumb to play a a Condemned to Slaughter. That's pretty good. So that's going to obviously force Chris to get rid of the Rage Spectre. So that's a nice little piece of tech as well that a lot of Rune Blades have now, is obviously these cards which force people to destroy auras. Of course, with Viserai in play, it just means you can just get rid of a rune chant. But obviously, because he's already played a non-attack action this turn, that card is going to generate a rune chant anyway. So it's like you don't lose anything whatsoever. And obviously, the next Runeblade attack action card as well. There is extra text on this thing, gets +3. So that Swarming that he's got from the Become the Arc Knight is actually going to become a 7. And yeah, this is a couple of gestures here, just suggesting that he can choose basically what aura he gets rid of, but in this case he only has the 1. But yeah, that Swarming Gloomveil is going to be coming in for 6, I should say, coming in for 6 with the +3 on the. Oh no, sorry, it's going to come in for 7 because obviously it gets all the modes. That's right, but yeah, 3 and 7 coming in here. So 3 rune chants first of all, and then 7 physical. So Chris has to deal with the 3 separate pings first of all. But one of the great cards that came out of the Rosetta for Illusionists was the Calming Gesture, which is the piece of arcane barrier that they wanted. So yeah, very, very good piece of arms there, which can obviously create a spectral shield when it leaves as well if you do pay for the activation. So yeah, it's a very, very good card overall to have in Illusionist decks now. Just making sure that you can have this constant arcane barrier, but also a relevant ability on board when you need it in these matchups here. But yeah, just Chris just deciding what to commit to this, what to AB, what to potentially block. 7 coming through, but 3 instances of 1 being presented, first of all, from the Rune Chants. So yeah, this is going to be quite an interesting game to see who can really gain the tempo quicker. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm probably going to see this matchup quite a lot going into the new meta as such, or the meta that already has been established. But just Rune Blades in general, just making a comeback now, which is nice. All this split damage, aggro coming back, which is obviously making a lot of illusionists think about what they have to do, which is what Chris is doing here. He's thinking, right, how do I deal with this 3 instances of 1 and 1 instance of 7? How do I cleanly navigate this? And it's funny because when Enigma was first spoiled and revealed, a lot of people were like, oh, okay, well, how do you really deal with this? How do you construct this? But the choices that you have as an Enigma player are insane. The amount of offensive and defensive capabilities that you have access to at instant speed as well. But yeah, we are seeing the manifestations of Miragai pitched for 2 Arcane Barrier and Chris taking 1 of that. And now we've got the 7 coming in here from the Swarming Gloom Veil, which does have go again as well because of the auras that Hank has generated. But this is going to be blocking for 3, this CNC, and then taking the rest, going down to 35. I believe that is just raw damage. There isn't much else apart from the Reaping Blade, which Hank is going to use to swing away at Chris. This is going to be coming in for 2 Rune Chants, which he's just going to take straight away. And then 3 on the back end with the Reaping Blade physical damage. Reaping Blade just being one of those cards that is just a weapon that costs you 1 to swing, attacks for 3. The text doesn't really matter that much. If a hero has more life than any other hero, they can't gain life. Doesn't really come into effect too much, but it's just the 1-costed weapon swing, which is what the Rune Blades want. Apart from Aurora, of course, who has the Starfall. But yeah, Chris is just gonna get the Waning Vengeance out, pitching a blue, and obviously getting the Spectral Shield out of it as well, which is pretty good. Just making sure to soak up that damage and getting the Spectral Shield on the back end. Establishing a Ward Aura for Chris's turn, and he's just going to attack in with for 1 with the Spectral Shield, because obviously Spectral Shields attack is equal to their ward value because of the Cosmo that Chris has access to as a weapon. Not really a weapon with regards to that. It's just an extension of Enigma's ability, to be honest. The extension or the enabler of the Enigma deck is just having Cosmo there. It could all be on Enigma's card, let's be honest. It could all be on Enigma's text, but they might as well just print a weapon just to make it easier, I guess. Trying to fit it all on one card. Okay, well, we've got an Astral Etchings being played at instant speed to bring that up to 3 counters, so it's going to be attacking for 4. It looks like Hank's just no-blocked it, and then Chris played that instant speed to give it the 3 counters. And that's pretty much it. Arsenal pass over to Hank. But yeah, having the 4-power weapon swing for free is something that needs to be taken care of, or looked at least. But yeah, this is what Enigma likes to do. Just establish some high-powered weapons and just continuously get value out of them. But it's going to be hard for Chris to deal with this if Hank keeps generating Rune Chants. But we are going to see a Drawn to the Dark Dimension being played here, which obviously will draw a card when it's played. And the Aether Hail, which Hank has pitched for this, is not actually an Aether Hail. It is a Dominion's Machinations of Dominion, I believe. It's just a proxy in Hank's deck, which is why it's there. But yeah. So currently coming in for 3, doesn't have any go again right now. But there are shenanigans that Hank can do with the Spellbound Creepers to make sure that you can continuously go on this turn. So we're going to see that now, I believe. Yeah, using the 1 floating to put a bind counter on the Creepers, which allows you to play your next non-attack action card this turn as though it were an instant. And it can only obviously be played if you've attacked, which Hank has. And obviously he's going to use the Deadwood Dirge instant speed to create 3 auras by sacrificing 1, and obviously the go again on the Deadwood Dirge would give Hank his action point back, which allows him to carry on going after this. So Drawn to the Dark Dimension, just one of those cards that has been able to sneak back into lists now with this new sort of aggro-y version of Viserai, coupled with the Spellbound Creepers to potentially or essentially give it go again. The dark dimensions, but yeah, we haven't, like, even in the old Viserai lists, I don't know if Drawn to the Dark Dimension was really even part of those lists back then, so I wouldn't be able to tell you why this has snuck back in. Let us know in the comments below as to why Drawn has snuck back in, but it's a pretty cool card nonetheless. And now we are seeing a Rune Flash being played. Of course, didn't cost anything because of obviously the reduction, but yeah, now we're coming in for 3 rune chance, and Chris is just going to take the chance here to double transcend, obviously playing Drop in the Ocean and Stir the Pot. So Stir the Pot's going to resolve first, so that's why we can see Chris shuffling his deck right now, and immediately after this he's going to have Drop in the Ocean resolve, which is going to bring the Rune Flash down to 3, which Hank has already done. So just devaluing the attack a little bit and just grabbing 2 cheese to hand, pitching 1 into Enigma's ability, which is what it looks like is what's happening here. I think. Oh no, sorry, he pitched the chi into the Arcane Barrier to stop the Arcane Barrier. Now he's still got 3 coming down at him with the Rune Flash. So the chi just acting as extra AB, which is pretty cool. Still staring down a 3-power Rune Flash, which does have go again. Hank's still got 1 card in hand as well. No floating, but still 1 card in hand. And we know that obviously Chris still does have a chi in hand as well as 3 other cards. He's already blocked with a Dissolve Reality, so he's got 2 cards in hand here, I believe, if my maths are correct. But yeah, the ward's going to deal to soak up 2 of that damage, and the ward's going to soak up 1 of that damage. He's going to take 2, and now we'll see what the follow-up is here from Hank, if any. 1 card in hand, could swing the sword. If it's a 0 cost, it could be something else. It could be pitched into grass, perhaps, or it could just be an Arsenal Pass moment here, with the Rune Flash just not really doing much on the go again. But it is just going to be a sword swing. Plus the 1 from the rune chance. So that's going to be 1 and 3 that Chris has to deal with here. 4 damage coming in will put him down to 28. Probably an okay live total to be at if he wants to keep those 2 cards in hand. And if that card in hand can be utilised with a... Oh, okay, no, it's going to be pitched to Arcane Barrier, and he's going to take 3. All right. Yeah, so, yeah, okay. Just the 1 card in hand then left, Chris, after dealing with that. And I'm not sure if there's much... What can you do? He's got a Tunic Resource, of course. Tunic ticking up to 3. And looks like it's going to be a chi pitched into Enigma's ability to create a Spectral Shield with +1 counter. And that is just going to attack. So Tunic not being used this turn. Just sat there for an extra turn later on, which is pretty cool. But even after all of that onslaught, Chris can just be like, yep, attack for 2, go again, pass. Establishing more ward, establishing more auras, more weapons. And back over to Hank now to start with another Malefic incantation. This is the yellow one, not the red one. I don't know why I flashed that up there. And coming in with a Rune Rager Swarm, which is going to create a Rune Chant off of the back end of Malefic. And obviously we've got an aura created this turn, so the Rune Ranger Swarm does have Go Again, coming in for 3 with Go Again on the Rune Rager Swarm. But obviously the Rune Chant was created from Malefic, so obviously this is not popping at the moment. But Chris is going to Fateful Scene it away. Obviously blocking for 4 when this attack's coming in for 3. A little bit of value lost there, but hey-ho, just getting rid of the damage coming in. And Hank is going to follow up with a Machinations of Dominion. So the next Runeblade attack action card gets Overpower, and if you've played or created an aura this turn, which he has done, it gets Go Again as well. Well, this gets Go Again, I should say. Yeah, so the drawn to the Dark Dimension. This is probably another reason why Drawn is quite good now, is because of the Machinations of Dominion. Giving this Go Again is pretty good, because obviously you draw a card and then you carry on the turn basically while still throwing Rune Chants out. So obviously Chris has got 2 Rune Chants to deal with here, plus the 3, plus the card that's just been drawn from Hank, and I can see why Viserai is feeling like a fun deck to play at the moment with all these new cards. But yeah. One Spectral Shield ate the Rune Chants, and now Chris is just eating the rest of the 4 here, the 1 Rune Chant and the Drawn to the Dark Dimension, which does have Go Again because of the Machinations of Dominion, but it looks like Hank is just going to Arsenal and pass, which is fine. It's just setting up for next turn as well. That draw a card on Drawn to the Dark Dimension can sometimes just be like, yep, I'm just going to attack but fill up my arsenal at the same time, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, it's just nice to see that card getting some play. And over to Chris's turn now. Hank's Arsenal and drew 4. Let's see what Chris has to follow up with. He does have a Tunic available to him as well. And rightly so, to start thinking about what's going to happen here in the semi-finals of the League That Means Nothing. And playing a Spectral Manifestations. That's a really, really good card. Creating a Spectral Shield with 3+1 counters on it is pretty sick. Having a 4 attack weapon established with Go Again. Coming in for 4. Looks like Chris has, 1 floating after that? So 1 floating after this attack for 4 into Hank. Hank with a slight life lead at the moment, but staring down a 4 attack with Go Again. Interesting to see what Chris can follow up with after this as well. But yeah, love to see it. Hank's just going to take the damage, go down to 23, and then Chris is going to follow that up with a Restless Coalescence, another fantastic card, which is going to come in for 5. And then this is it's just so much utility that you can do with this card. Removing +1 counters to make a Spectral Shield token, eating other stuff when it enters to give its attack 5. Which is what it's done here, and obviously Hank's just going to take that damage, and Chris is going to remove one of those counters to create a Spectral Shield, just building up that board state. And again, the more sort of Spectral Shields you have, the more breakpoints you can cover up, which is absolutely vital for protecting your big auras, which in this case is the Restless Coalescence. It's going to come in for 4 each turn at the moment. But we know we've got some chi in the deck. We know that the Manifestations of Miragai is in there. So that will become the big piece that Chris can protect and just continuously smash face with once he gets it. But we're going to see a Sonata Arcanix come up here. Let's see what happens. So we got a non-attack, a non-attack, a non-attack. That's no good, unfortunately. Bit of a whiff on Sonata. It's such a high-risk, high-reward card. Just not getting the even split of attacks and non-attacks is just a little bit whiffy. It's the same reason why you don't really see Tome of the Arknight being played, which is one of those cards that allows you to draw 2 if you reveal the right things. A lot of us have lived and died by the Tome of the Arknight back in the old days. Yeah, Viserai was one of the heroes that I really, really gravitated towards in my early sort of stages of Fab until Azalea took over. That sort of dark, brooding, purple energy, warlocky sort of energy was something that I really, really liked. Yeah, just Arcane Rising still just one of my favourite sets of all time, give or take Outsiders maybe. And Outsider's probably my favourite set. That's what pushed Azalea over the edge. But I think Arcane Rising was still one of my favourites, if not my favourites. But yeah, we are seeing a Rune Ranger Swarm being played here. Malefic is going to tick down, obviously, with the attack here and create another rune chant on the back end. This is coming in for 1 and 1. So just really, really odd numbers here coming in from Hank, which is probably quite annoying for Enigma to deal with. But we are just going to A-B that away and then block with these Phantasmal Footsteps. Again, just getting some really, really nice, clean value out of these boots from these Rune Ranger Swarms. That's 2 Rune Ranger Swarms, 2 blue Rune Ranger Swarms that these Phantasmals have now blocked by paying the 1, which is all you need really sometimes to protect your auras, right? All these instances of 1. Sometimes all you need is just a boots to block for 1. And then we are going to see another Machinations of Dominion. So the next attack is going to get Overpower. And if you Cradle Play an aura this turn, this gets Go Again as well. So another card. Wow, okay, Amplify the Arc Knight is going to have Overpower and Go Again. I'm not sure if Hank can have anything. No, doesn't look like it. Just looks like this is going to have Overpower and 3 Rune Chants coming in as well. Still pretty good. Overpower, a little bit of evasion. More ways for Hank to just try and chew through the auras that Chris has created here to try and establish some dominance over the game before the illusionist sort of steamrolls it into submission with the amount of board state that they can generate. Yeah, 3 pings coming in first that Chris has to deal with. And a little bit more complicated and complex math here when dealing with all of this split damage. So that's where you can see Chris just putting cards on the table face down to try and just sort of figure out what blocks can be committed to what, or what things can be pitched to save what. Flesh and Blood's a very, very mathematical game, people. And the best players will always be able to count properly, I should say. Does reward that knowledge and that that sort of almost, yeah, that knowledge of that intrinsic value of each card and what it's worth in the moment is absolutely pivotal to being the best of the best in this game. And Chris just covering that poor woman's eyes over and over again as he tries to decide what to block with or how to commit to this 9 power over 4 different things. We've got 3 rune chants and then 1 attack, so 9 different sources. 4 different sources of damage. But yeah, the League That Means Nothing too has just been great fun. All in all, can't wait to do the third season, I should say. When I get back from Japan, I will be opening up the registrations for that. So join the Discord, link in the description box below through goagaingaming.com. And you'll be able to be notified of all the rest of the Discord members first before it goes out to the public. But yeah, that's going to be blocked. Arcane Barriered away, pitching the Ripple away. And then obviously we've got an Astral Etchings blocking for 3. Then we've got the an activation of Restless, and that's going to create another Spectral Shield and then eat up the rest there. So we've got 3 Spectral Shields soaking up 3 and an Astral Etchings soaking up 3 as well. So that's going to cover the full extent of the Arc Knight. And now we're going to be coming in with the Reaping Blade for 1 and 3. So yeah, I can see why this is a pretty good pick into Enigma or into Illusionist, because of the sheer amount of different damage sources coming in. Is hard for Ward to really get established or save your board from all of these little split damages. So it does feel like Viserai does have a lot of tools into this matchup, but we are going to see another block from the Footsteps and the Astral Etchings, or the other Restless Coalescence is going to come in and soak up the rest of it. Yeah, cool. Okay. But again, Chris had to commit his whole hand there, but he's still going to be able to just swing the Restless by getting rid of the Tunic counter, which is exactly what he's going to be doing here. Just coming in for 3 with Go Again. Why not? Able to protect all of that life, but also protect the board that he's got that he can just continuously swing with. Is decent. And also, obviously, the Restless Coalescence has that one ability left on it where it can remove that last counter to create another Spectral Shield, which obviously in Enigma decks can work as both offense and defense. Yeah, Hank is just going to take that damage. Chris now pulling ahead, and as we see again there, we're just going to use the Restless Coalescence ability to create another Spectral Shield, another piece of board state, another piece of breakpoint protection for Chris. Just more stuff that Hank has to chew through with those rune chants and that split damage. But it's over to Hank now, who obviously has taken quite a lot of damage. 10 life differential here. But it's going to start off with another Sonata Arcanix. Can it be better this time? Looks like it's going to be revealing 4 cards, I think, to this. Non-attack. Attack. Woohoo. Attack. Just needs another non-attack. Ah, ba-boom. There we go. Nice. So they both go into hand. The attacks, I believe. The attacks go into hand, or is it the non-attacks? I can't remember. Put an attack action card revealed this way into your hand. Then deal arcane damage equals number of cards put into your hand this way. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. So he's going to draw. He's going to draw both of those. Yeah, okay, I was right the first time. Don't question myself. Yeah, so for each non-attack he gets, he can put an attack into his hand. So he gets to get both of those into hand there, which is pretty nice. He's going to deal some damage as well. The arcane damage as well is going to be coming in, I believe, which has got rid of the Restless. Quite a lot going on, obviously, in these two matchups. There's lots of ping damage, lots of different sources of damage, lots of ward and lots of board state being eaten up by the aforementioned damage. So lots to keep track of in this game, and that's why, obviously, the maths and stuff can help quite a lot. But obviously, Hanks now drew a couple of cards from that Sonata, dealt with the Restless Coalescence, and now we are going to be carrying on with Hank's turn to see what he can do now with the 10 life differential in place as well. Obviously, life means a lot to illusionists, so we're going to see another Condemn, or not. Hank just revealing information for the sake of revealing information there, just to maybe mind game his opponent a little bit. Who knows? Who knows? But Condemn is another good one in this matchup. It's not the best value if you're just getting rid of a Spectral Shield. But yeah, I mean, it can still do that. It can get rid of the Spectral Shield. I think Chris is gesturing here that you can just get rid of the Spectral Shield without having to maybe try and chew through the damage. Just one of those things you can do. You can just get rid of it and then maybe force some other ward from hand to block what you're about to do. But yeah, so we are going to be pitching into Grasp to get a Rune Chant. And this will allow him to play the Condemn, which is what you're going to do. You may destroy an aura you control. If you do, each opponent destroys an aura. Yeah, so that's what you had to do, right? You had to activate the Grasp to get the aura, then play the Condemn, sacrifice his own aura to then get rid of Chris's Spectral Shield. That's basically what had to happen. And obviously, the Rune Chant is still showing as being there because obviously he's already played a Sonata this turn. So on the play of the Condemned to Slaughter, that's going to create the Rune Chant that he needs on the back end, just so he doesn't really lose anything. But he had to use the Grasp first. He couldn't use the Rune Chant from the generation of Viserai's ability to do the Condemn text. He had to have the Rune Chant there when the Condemn entered in order to do the Condemn text, is what I think is how it works. But yeah, so Chris having to get rid of that Spectral Shield, and obviously now Hank has a clean way into Chris's face, which is sounded a little bit dirty, but there we go. We are going to see that happen very soon. Obviously, Condemn as well, of course, this blue version does give the next Runeblade attack this turn +1 as well, so it does push a little bit more damage on that side of things as well. But it's going to be interesting to see what Hank does follow up with now. Obviously, we know that he drew 2 cards from the Sonata earlier, so we've still got a couple of cards to play with, plus a resource. And we are just going to play a blue Rune Flash, which is going to cost 2 because of the Rune Chant that's in play. So he's pitched a blue for that, yeah. And obviously now we're going to see another Rune Chant be created off of Viserai's ability, and obviously we're now going to see the Rune Flash come in for 2 because of the Condemns buff. Sorry, 3 because of the Condemns buff, and then the Viserai, the Rune Chant coming in for 1 as well. So 1 and 3 on this attack. Rune Flash does have go again as well, of course. Hank does have 2 floating and a card in hand, so possibly could come in with a Reaping Blade on the end of this chain, or whatever card that is in hand with the 2 resources floating. But Chris just deciding what he wants to do with that 1 Rune Chant, that 1 pesky Rune Chant that keeps coming in to mess around with the Ward's game plan. Hank just taking a quick look through his deck, and maybe Chris asking him to confirm what's in the graveyard for certain purposes. But yeah, this has been great. This league has been really, really fantastic. Can't wait to do Season 3, and I'm just very, very excited for Japan now, which is only a couple of nights away now from this moment. And Chris is just going to take this moment to take a damage from the Arcane and now block with the Traverse. So this seems like a big turn coming up now with the Traverse blocking for 2, going to search up a Chi. So that's currently going to be blocking 2 on 3, so Chris should take another damage as well on resolution of this block. But the pivotal thing here is searching up that Chi. What does that mean for Chris's hand composition? It probably means a manifestations of Mirage. That tends to be when the Traverse is used. But obviously we see Hank coming in with a big attack here with the Amplify, the Arc Knight coming in for 6 and 1. Or 1 and 6. It's going to be interesting to see how much damage Chris takes here and what the follow-up is. Obviously, after searching for that Chi, there's going to be some form of powerful card in Chris's hand, most likely a Manifestations of Mirage. So that will just take the... so Chris is just going to take the 1 damage from the Rune Chant, and then still contending with 6 damage here. Looks like it's just going to be a block for 3, and taking some more damage through on that. So going down to 18. Yeah. That's pretty good. So it looks like Chris is just going to be playing out whatever card that is with the Chi, and lo and behold, it is a Manifestations of Mirage. Of course it is. Of course it is. Coming in for 8 because of the 4 counters. It's pretty savage. And what could have been even worse is that if Chris had the right hand composition, he could have swung Mirage and then CNC'd, which would have been absolutely horrendous if he had the right hand there. But didn't have enough blues to do that. He needed that Phantasmaclasm to be another blue, basically, in order to do that. I think that's what he was gesturing at, actually. But yeah, still powerful stuff coming in for 8 go again. And now Chris has got that strategy in play where he can just protect the board and swing 8 every turn, which is just insane. But maybe Hank does have the tools to be able to deal with this sort of threat. But obviously the Succumb has come out as well, which is a pretty good card. A new one from Rosetta, of course, which makes an on-hit very, very relevant on this swarming. But of course, yeah, this is going to be coming in for 1 first of all, which Chris is going to AB away with another Manifestations of Mirage in hand. Jesus. All right, well, that's that, I guess. And now we've got the 3 damage coming in with the on-hit attached to it. With the Succumb to Temptation on-hit attached to it. Which, does it really matter if this hits Chris right now? He's going to be able to strip a card away of Hank's choosing, but he's got a Manifestations in play, so I guess he would only have to block. Well, yeah, okay. Well, yeah. If it's not going to hit because Manifestations is there. It's just the question is whether he wants to protect that Manifestations or not. But I'm assuming he probably does want to, because that's just too much value to lose, right? But yeah, that's going to be blocked by a Miraging. So that is fully blocked at the moment. And obviously this does have Go Again with the Swarming, and Hank does have 2 cards left in hand as well. So he's still going to be able to follow up with yet another attack after this, if he so desires. But yeah, when Mirage comes out with 4 counters, it's got the Reveling Runeblood. Okay, pretty good stuff. Going up to 6 rune chants. And then pitching the other Revel. Wow, okay. And again, if hand composition was different, could have been able to do both, maybe? But this is still a lot to deal with. This is still, again, 9 damage spread over 4 sources. So, is it even possible to protect Mirage here? 4 damage over 4 sources? Seems like a lot to try and protect that castle. And this is the point as the Enigma player is, right, okay, am I going to be able to stop 4 sources of 9? Can I really protect my Mirage? And even if I could, can I swing back with it on my next turn? So I still have to pay 1 to be able to swing back. And the Tunic is on 1 as well, so even if he protected it all by getting rid of the entire hand, Tunic resource is not available to swing Mirage, so it's one of those things as an Enigma player is you have to make the decisions as to when to sort of keep those cards around or when to sacrifice them. But another great thing about this is obviously the ward on Mirage is ward X, which means that the ward is equal to the number of counters it has, so that is still a 4 block on board with that ward Mirage there. So that's another thing as well that maybe sort of gets forgotten about is, yeah, Mirage attacks for 8 each turn, but he also wards for 4 as well. So given the composition, given the hand, given the situation, Mirage, even when you've pitched a chi, can still block for 4 when you're being attacked, which is just great, again, for saving life. And illusionists love to sort of maintain their life total because you have to deal with so many other threats rather than just the cards that are being thrown at you in the life totals. You have to deal with the board states and everything else, especially with Enigma as well. Plays a lot of stuff at instant speed. There is just a lot to contend with Enigma at the moment. And we are going to see all of the Arcane Barrier gotten rid of. And then we're just going to Fateful Scene away the Reaping Blade. Wow, so that's a perfect cover-up there from Chris. Wow. A perfect cover-up. Tunic is just going to tick up, but I think that's pretty much it. There's not much else. Or does Chris still have cards in hand? No. No, that's it. So he's protecting the castle here. And again, that was a big turn from Hank. Obviously, he's used a Revel that turn and also pitched a Revel that turn. So at least Chris knows now that there's the likelihood is of finding another Revel-esque turn is quite slim. So that's probably why he was happy to commit the whole hand there and just keep around the Mirage for another turn or another cycle. Because at least if Chris commits the entire hand again here, for whatever reason, he can then just swing with Tunic trigger because it's now on the next cycle. So that's probably where a lot of the value is being drawn from on this next cycle. Is, can I just defend the castle? Can I defend the Mirage and then just swing with the Tunic trigger? That seems to be a valid reason to keep going. But the Rune Flash is coming in here. Hank having to pitch for this with the Machinations of Dominion because no rune chants are out. So obviously it's just coming in for 4 with Go Again. And again, just looking through the graveyard here for the amount of swarming Gloom Veils that have been played, I imagine. Oh, the Drawn to Dark Dimensions are also being checked as well. So 2 Drawns have been played and 2 Swarmings have been played, I believe. And then obviously the Aether Hail that's in the graveyard is a Machinations of Dominion as well, because Hank doesn't have the full playset yet. But yeah, Chris having to deal with 4 here. Going to be playing a double Transcend. So obviously you've got the Passing Sun, Setting Moon, Rising Sun, Setting Moon, and Passover. So Passover is going to banish something from Hank's graveyard, which is going to be a Swarming Gloom Veil, which is fine. And that's going to transcend into a Chi, which goes to hand. And obviously the Rising Sun, Setting Moon is going to be able to draw a card, and then they put a card back on the bottom of their deck, which is quite cool. So again, just a little bit of filtering here. Chucking a card underneath, and obviously this transcending into a Chi as well. Of course, this is all at instant speed before damage has been dealt, and now Chris can choose whether he's going to pitch into Enigma to try and save some life, save some breakpoints. Obviously, we've got the Phantasmal Footsteps being committed to this, pitching a Chi, which means there's 2 floating, and Phantasmal only blocks for 3 here, so he's going to be able to play a Waxing Vengeance. Which is going to come in if you've created a blue card, create a Spectral Shield this turn when it leaves. So that's just going to die and leave behind another Spectral Shield. So that's really, really well, cleverly, masterfully covered up there. And of course, still 1 floating and 1 Spectral Shield left behind by the Waning Vengeance. Sorry, not Waxing Vengeance, Waning Vengeance. Waxing Spectre is the other one, isn't it? The one that gets the... I can't remember what it does now. Oh, we got a Vexing Malice coming in as well. Coming in for 1 and 2, which is perfect, because obviously the Spectral Shield is going to block the 1. So it looks like it's fully blocked as well. But yeah, very, very tricksy amounts of damage coming in on all of these attacks from Hank. Chris is lucky to have a few of these breakpoints and pings covered up by Spectral Shields and other pieces of Arcane Barrier and resources floating. Because, yeah, it seems like a really, really tough amount of damage sources to deal with. As an illusionist player, trying to protect that Mirror Guy for as much as possible to make that Tunic trigger roll round again so he can swing for 8 for nothing is the main game plan here. No cards in hand for Hank. Coming in for 1, Chris is going to be able to chuck this second tentative Chi Wind under it, keep a card in hand as well, which is pretty devastating because he can swing with Tunic anyway, so keeping 1 card in hand to maybe Arsenal or even play a 0 cost something after this. But yeah, Tunic is just being used for 8 with Go Again, which is absolutely insane. 1 resource, 8 Go Again is just horrible. And Hank just trying his hardest, of course, to swing as many sources of damage at Chris as possible, but just massively played, massively navigated. Just being able to keep that Mirror Guy around enough turns to be able to swing it with a Tunic trigger is absolutely insane value. And one that a lot of people absolutely despise is the manifestations of Mirror Guy. And Hank just going to be like, yep, yeah, fine, whatever. I take 8 damage and go to 2, allowing Chris to Arsenal and pass. And if Chris can keep this up, he's going to be able to just continuously swing. But it looks like Hank's got a Condemn in hand, so he just needs to get an Aura on board, which is obviously through most of the time through that Grasp, and then play the Condemn to get rid of the Mirror Guy. So at least Chris knows that that's coming his way now, is the Condemn. But yeah, we are going to see the blueby pitch to grasp, create that rune chant, and then we're going to see the condemn be played as well here to sack the rune chant, to make the opponent sack an aura. So that is going to deal with the Viserai. However, at this point, Chris has established quite a lot of value from that Viserai, being able to swing it for 8 last turn for no resources really at all because of the tunic. It's going to be hard for Hank to deal with whatever comes next, really. I mean, this is all just damage at this point. There's no ward or auras established now, so Chris could just take a load of damage here and then just throw 5 cards back at Hank, who's now sat on 2 life. Every single card is really going to be a commitment now for Hank, I imagine, at this stage, and this is just damage to Chris right now. Even if Hank does 10 damage here, Chris is still going to be on 8 life. I know that's probably not going to be what Chris is going to do, is take it all, but the differential there is still quite a lot for Hank to try and claw back into this. But yeah, still throwing 10 damage out. Obviously got a rune chant there on the back end for future turns as well. Is nothing to be sniffed at. Still causing Chris all sorts of issues with regards to decisions that he has to make to maintain or carry on with closing this game out. So Hank just really making a stand, getting rid of that 3 rune chants with that Warmonger's Diplomacy. So just 7 raw damage coming in now. This does have go again as well because of the auras. But we are going to see a sink below. So it's going to cover up 4 of it. So 3 still going through and hitting Chris, bringing him down to 15. So 15-2. Chris still having a 3-card hand here, 2 in hand, 1 in the arsenal. Obviously after committing the Warmongers to the AB and the sink below to the block. So Chris is still going to be able to come back with 3 cards on his turn, which is pretty good. Having to just threaten 2 with cards now to really commit a block. Hank still has the tunic and the grasp, so he still has 2 block on field with the tunic and the grasp as well. This game is nearing its close. And Chris just playing around with his Cosmo scroll, even though it can't really be committed to the board state because it's just a token that allows you to do things with other board states. So Chris just really mind-gaming the opponent here, just playing around with his Cosmo, which does nothing apart from enable other cards. Just reshuffling and rearranging the deck and flicking a few cards around in hand. And finally, just going to come in with a Phantasmaclasm for 9. So no poppers in hand. So Phantasmaclasm obviously is one of those good cards that, although it has a downside of having Phantasm, you look at the defending hero's hand and choose a card and they put it at the bottom of their deck and draw. So if they did have a 6 power attack which would trigger Phantasm, you can just be like, nah, you're not having it. But in this case, there is no Phantasm poppers whatsoever, so Hank is just going to put a random card back and draw 1 into hand. He doesn't need to show Chris this, but he's going to do it anyway. There is no popper there, but it's coming in for 9 damage, which Hank is going to have to block. And this is the situation that Hank's going to be in now for the rest of the game. It's especially, that's what I mean, like Enigma, she can establish these wards, she can do manifestations of Viserai, but sometimes she can just chuck a Phantasmaclasm at you for 9 damage. And it's an insane rate. A 3 for 9 is absolutely insane. You get all the information up front as well for the defending hero's next hand of cards, which again, when you're in this sort of position, is pivotal for you to figure out how to close the game. But again, in this particular scenario, it's just forcing so many blocks from Hank's hand and putting him down to 1 life. And this very much looks like we're heading towards the end of the game now. Before we find out what looks like to be an Enigma final here on the League That Means Nothing Season 2. Chris versus the winner of this match is going to be facing Kenneth's Enigma, and that looks like it's going to be. It's not too late, but it looks like it's going to be an Enigma final in the League That Means Nothing Season 2. Hank starting off with a Malefic incantation, which has 3 counters on it. So whenever he plays an attack, he removes 1 and gets a rune chant. That's exactly what he's going to be doing here. He's going to be removing 1, getting a rune chant, and then coming in with 3 go again on the Rune Rager Swarm. And again, to Chris, at this point, it is just damage. There's no lethal being presented, so it could be one of those where he just doesn't block anything and just closes out the game next turn. Yep, he's just taking the 3 here, going down to 8. And Hank does have go again, but there is nothing to go again on. So Chris just having to do 1 damage here to finish this off to secure his place in the League That Means Nothing finals, and it's going to be an Enigma mirror if that is the case. It's not over yet, but it looks like it's probably going to be very soon. Spectral Manifestations, that's going to come out with 3 counters on it, of course, with go again, so it's going to be able to throw a 4 attack go again, so just in the face of Hank now, just throwing in a attack that has a breakpoint, which needs 2 cards basically committed to it, because most cards block for 3. This is coming in for 4, which means that most of the time you're going to have to commit 2 cards, which Hank is going to have to do here to block it. And there's 2 cards remaining in Hank's hand. Oh, that's Astral Etchings for game. Well, there we go. GG. So the Astral Etchings puts the Spectral Manifestations, Spectral Shield onto 6 counters, and the attack reaction of the, well, not even attack reaction, an instant, or basically the Illusionist attack reaction of Astral Etchings winning that game there in the last moment. So through to the final, Chris Chalk against Kenneth Shivers. So it's going to be an all Enigma final here at the League That Means Nothing Season 2. So don't go anywhere. We are going to be back again to do it all over again and finish off this League That Means absolutely nothing tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be an interesting one. So look out for that. And again, join the Discord and link in the description box below to make sure that you're going to be one of the first people to be notified of League That Means Nothing Season 3, which is going to be going ahead when I get back from Japan. And speaking of which, I am going to be going to Japan in a few days, so you will see me there. And if you do see me there, make sure you come and say hello, because I'm giving away 3 Azalea Cult membership cards for the Azalea Cult. One last hurrah in Osaka. But yeah, it's going to be good fun, so we'll see you there. And yeah, that's it. Cheers. Goodbye.